Idaho government just passed that they would be adding the firing squad to their uh, like execution list.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Which I didn't know this, but surprisingly, this is not the first state. I think they're like the fifth state to add this.
Okay.
But I didn't know that, that was even the thing. I didn't know that there were 5 other states that had set this in motion. But when I saw this headline, I was like, I don't know. I got mad about it, and I didn't read the article at first. I just saw the headline.
Because it seems like cruel, unusual punishment.
Yeah, that and plus I'm like, what else do we need? I mean, if we already have, the death penalty, and we have methods already that we're using, and I don't know the last time somebody was necessarily put to death. Well,
And we're recording.
okay. All right. So a couple days ago, I was looking through some news articles.
Yeah.
And I came across this article about that was happening in Iowa. So, or I'm sorry, in Idaho. And the Idaho government just passed that they would be adding the firing squad to their execution list.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Which I didn't know this, but surprisingly, this is not the first state. I think they're like the 5th state to add this.
Okay.
But I didn't know that, that was even the thing. I didn't know that there were 5 other states that had set this in motion. But when I saw this headline, I was like, I don't know. I got mad about it, and I didn't read the article at first. I just saw the headline.
Because it seems like cruel, unusual punishment.
Yeah, that and plus I'm like, what else do we need? I mean, if we already have, the death penalty, and we have methods already that we're using, and I don't know the last time somebody was necessarily put to death.
Well, I and I believe it was an old John Oliver show was talking about capital punishment, and one of the things that they were talking about in there was that well, one, almost nobody uses the electric chair anymore. In fact, I think no states use it.
Okay.
Because they deemed killing somebody with electrocution is cruel and unusual. And to be honest, from what I was getting from the show, is it felt like it wasn't a sure thing. Like there have been people that have had to be electrocuted more than once, and I believe that there's some people that have survived the whole ordeal.
Oh.
But they were also saying that that the drugs were hard to get for some reason, and I don't remember why they said that, but the deal is that there was somebody that was actually advocating for, who was on death row, who wasn't like, hey, I shouldn't be here. They were basically saying, I understand why I'm here, but they were trying to sue to have either a firing squad or the electric chair used, because they were saying the thing with the drugs was that I guess there's like 3 stages. Like the first stage puts you to sleep, the second stage like paralyzes you, and then the third stage kills you. And the thing is like, if the first stage doesn't completely put you completely out,
Right.
and the second stage paralyzes you, evidently the drugs to do the third stage makes it feel like you're on fire from the inside out. And he was kind of saying that the person on death row was like, listen, I understand why I'm being punished, and I understand why I'm going to be put to death, but don't do it this way. He's not even saying don't do it. He's just saying, can I at least choose?
Man, I don't know how I feel about that because, so for one, I'm not sure how I necessarily feel about the death penalty anyway. But if you got somebody who committed a heinous murder, I mean, I feel like they're probably the least or the last person that should be asking for leniency or sympathy or.
True, and I see where you're coming from on that. Although I will say, the reason why we went away from the electric chair was because we deemed it as cruel and unusual. And if these drugs aren't working correctly, then I could see how that would be also cruel and unusual. So I could understand somebody advocating for something else. Yeah, I don't know what happened with these drugs. Did you see anything when you were looking this stuff up?
So basically, the companies that were trying to, or that were providing the drugs, basically in the article it just said that there's those drugs were used to like give life or to keep, not for taking life.
Oh, the companies wanted to be known for making drugs that give life. Okay,
Right.
well that makes sense. Yeah, and they're private companies. It's not like, I mean, they can't be ordered to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then, from this article, so basically that's what the gist of the article was that like they're going to the firing squad because there's kind of like a lack of other options, like you mentioned, nobody really used the electric chair.
Right.
It feels like the lethal injection is, difficult to get all those drugs.
Yeah, I'm not saying that I'm on board with capital punishment. I'm a little bit on the fence for many reasons. I won't go into all of them, but it felt like lethal injection was supposed to be the most humane way to do it if we're supposed to be in an evolved society.
Right.
But then, according to that show I was watching, it didn't seem like it was as smooth as we were all led to believe.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I guess apparently like with the lethal injection, it takes about 5 minutes. Like death usually comes in 5 minutes. So
That's much slower than I thought it was.
oh really? So oh yeah, I guess. And then with that, excuse me, as you were saying, so if it does have those effects on someone, then I don't know. I mean, I guess I could see how that could be torture, but once again, I don't know how I feel about that with somebody who necessarily committed like a series of murders or even just one heinous murder that like they feel like they're on fire from the inside out, and then that's their last moments. I don't know. Like I said, not sure how I feel about death penalty, but for somebody who's like killed 20 people.
Yeah, I mean, my deal is, or at least the way I look at it is, I'm not thinking of the death penalty as like an eye for an eye. Like you tortured these people and therefore you should be tortured. I'm more or less looking at it as like, I feel like there are just some really super evil people out there, and I think the world would be better off without them. Like Hitler.
Yeah.
If we would have caught him, I think he should have been put to death.
Right.
And I mean, trying to commit genocide.
Yeah.
I just don't see a world where we need you in it anymore. I mean, you crossed a lot of lines, and as far as I'm concerned, you can just move on to whatever's next.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. Okay, so from reading this article, I started thinking about like different like death methods or torture methods that we used to have, like not just in this country, but kind of just around the world.
Yeah, like medieval stuff.
Right. And because I mean, I'm sure that the list that we just mentioned, like with the fire squad, lethal injection, and the electric chair, I'm sure that's not even close to what we used to do in this country.
Yeah, well, or in
Yeah.
any country, I feel like the difference between now and then is like, especially in this country, we have, networks of law enforcement, and we have very sophisticated ways of proving who did what. Past just like fingerprints and you know, being able to prove that somebody had touched something and that it was used in this way. We can also look at DNA evidence to say like if there's a weapon, and then you have both the victim and the perpetrator DNA on it. But then beyond that, everybody seems to have security cameras. Everyone's got cell phones. It feels like nowadays it is way harder to get away with something than it used to be. And I almost feel like back in the day, since it was so easy to like commit horrible crimes and just move to the next town and become like the sheriff or the preacher or whatever, that they had to lay out something where they were like, we're going to do something so terrible to you that you are going to be so scared. Because even back then there was a chance you could get caught, but you had to make the punishment like terrifying.
Yeah. So I feel like, and I think that's one thing with, the death sentence is that it should somehow be a deterrent.
I think some people are not deterred by it.
Yeah. I would say, I feel like, we have a lot of crime still. And so, those methods don't seem to really scare anybody.
Although I think some of the old methods may deter more people because they were horrible.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't want deterring people is a good thing, but I think some people, that's not the way their brain works, and they think, so what?
Right. Yeah. They're like that guy, that person got caught. I won't get caught.
Right. Yeah. But nowadays it's like, it's almost impossible not to leave something behind. A hair, a fingerprint,
Do you think that
or get caught on a security camera.
Yeah. Do you think that like the punishment should also include the time it took and the methods it took to find the person who committed the crime? So say for instance, like if you have to, go through fingerprinting and look through all this security footage, that should also be added on to your sentence. Because you're like, we had to do, 200 hours of work.
Well, isn't it kind of? Isn't it? I feel like, and maybe these are just in like court TV things or movies or something. But I thought like I've heard the phrase of like, taking the police for a ride. Like, oh, we looked over here and then we looked over there, and they were always one. And I feel like they bring that up, like, like the point is like, you not only did these things, but then you wasted all of our time and money.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they just look at it as like, oh, you murdered people. So,
yeah.
So the time wasted kind of is not the point in this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think that, like, I don't know for sure, but I don't think that they put that into your sentencing or your punishment. But
well, then what are you saying? How would you?
Because say
account for that in someone's punishment.
I'm just saying, like, if say that the crime that you committed, just the crime alone, gives you 25, I don't say 15 years in prison.
Okay.
But then it took law enforcement and everyone else like a total of like 500 hours. Well, and then they're like, with all these hours and the crime, now that you get the death penalty.
Wow. I don't think that. I think the death penalty should be reserved for really evil pieces of crap. But I know you're just joking.
Yeah.
But I will say that we started out talking about the death penalty, so I was equating it to like the the most heinous crimes.
Mhm.
But I know for lesser crimes, they do make you pay for things like, and this is
Mhm.
such a low level crime compared to what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
But like I ski, and if you go skiing, especially like big mountain skiing,
Mhm.
there are areas that you can go, and since a lot of it is just like state or national land,
Mhm.
they can't really stop you, but they will put up like signs that say things like, you know, avalanche area or dangerous, don't go here.
Mhm.
But if you do, and you cause, let's say, an avalanche, or you need to be rescued, they make you pay for all of that.
Oh.
So if they need to send in search parties with snowmobiles and snowcats and like helicopters and everything else to come get you,
Mhm.
then your bill is going to be tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Which, one, they will, depending on where you went, you could have a fine for that or jail time or something.
Mhm.
If you destroyed property, then you're definitely getting hit for that.
Mhm.
Or your actions caused something to destroy property, like you triggered an avalanche.
Right.
And then if they've got to throw up $100,000 worth of equipment to go get you, or man hours or whatever, then you're going to pay them back for that too.
Mhm.
Now, if you're on the ski hill and you're in the correct area and they've already dynamited everything and they telling you it's safe, and then something happens like
Oh.
avalanche,
Yeah.
I don't believe that they're going to come at you and go, "You owe us 80 grand because we rescued you."
Right.
They're going to be like, "My bad. We'll
Yeah.
do better next
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Sorry that the
Yeah.
mountain collapsed on
Yeah.
you."
Unfortunately, they're not going to offer you 80 grand because they put you at risk. They'll just give some apologies.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, probably not. But
Yeah.
I've seen the government have to pay out for
Yeah.
other things, like
Yeah.
where they made mistakes or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Um, okay. So, So going back to this, so here, I got a list of about 5 methods of like torture, or like a death penalty that they used to do back in the day.
Okay.
And some of this stuff is just hard to believe. Like I mean, I know we just mentioned, that a lot of times it was used as a deterrent because, you had to really kind of search for the criminal. But some of the stuff just seems like it was a little bit insane. So the first one I have down is drawing and quartering.
Oh,
Um,
I do know what that is. That's bad.
Yeah. And in some of my research, it said that this was mostly used for treason, like if somebody was committed, found of treason, but I mean not in all cases. And it almost seemed like there was 2 methods of this. So one is basically, like attaching all your limbs to like,
Horses.
Yeah, horses.
Yeah, or
and then
some type of animal they
Right.
use to work the land.
Yeah. And then they would just run in different directions, and yeah. So yeah, I mean, pretty gruesome. And then other ones I've seen is someone kind of like hoisted up somewhere, but then their limbs are like attached to something else, and then kind of same result. Yeah, still pretty gruesome.
See, I thought when you first started talking about this that you were gonna, like, one that popped to mind was Iron Maiden.
Okay.
Are you familiar with this?
No.
So while you started talking, I looked up Iron Maiden because that's what popped into my head.
Yeah.
And I'll describe this. The Iron Maiden was a medieval torture device. It was like a casket with spikes on the inside, and they would put you in it alive, and they would slowly close it on you,
Oh,
and then you'd be impaled in there
yikes.
alive. But then when I looked it up,
Mm-hmm.
this is what it says. This is what Google says. It says, the Iron Maiden was a horrible medieval torture device, a casket with spikes on the inside, which could be closed slowly, impaling the living person inside. It was awful. was also not real. It was a fake concept popularized by two men in the 19th century, an era not known for impaling people to death. And so at first I was thinking you were going to say something horrible like Iron Maiden. And then I looked it up and I was like, well, that's nice to hear that Iron Maiden wasn't even a thing.
Yeah.
And this whole time I thought it was.
Yeah.
Turns out they probably made it up for a movie or something. I don't know.
Think there was a like a prototype?
I don't know. They used to do a whole bunch of horrible stuff back then.
Yeah, that does sound pretty terrible.
But there was a band named after it. I really thought it was a real.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm down if I believe that it wasn't real. That almost sounds like, because I mean they got the plans, they got the whole blueprints and everything for it right there. Exactly what it needs to do. How long were the spikes? Any details on that?
No. They didn't go into gruesome details. I'm still on the Google page. I didn't even click the thing. I just read what it said.
Yeah, I'm sure you can see some good artist renderings, and you should look some if you want to have some nightmares.
But thinking of like olden times torture is what I'm calling it, I guess, because I'm not sure if it was all medieval times, but the problem with capital punishment, at least the problem that I personally have with it, is what if you pick the wrong person? And the deal is then you couple that with death, and then what we're talking about, old school death. It makes it even more horrible. Like all of the witch trials.
Oh yeah,
where basically they'd find some woman that they didn't really like.
Yeah.
They'd accuse her of being something that wasn't real. And then they'd drown her or set her on fire or something under the awesome, I guess, test of if she survives, then she was okay. Like, what the hell kind of test is that?
Yeah.
Isn't there another test where we don't have to kill them?
Right. Yeah, I'm sure they're
in a horrible way, burning alive.
Yep, burn them at the stake. Wasn't that at the stake? I'm sure.
Yeah, or didn't they dunk them underwater and hold them underwater or something?
Too. Yep.
Oh,
yeah, pretty gruesome.
Yeah.
And so along with that too is another method that I was looking up was stoning. So what's funny, well, not funny, I guess I shouldn't say funny, but what's interesting about this one is that
I just want to point out I do all the editing here.
Yeah.
So if during any of these horrible you just did it. I was going to say during any of these horrible things you're describing, if you laugh, it's going to look real bad for you in the final edit.
Oh, okay. I guess I better be careful.
Nah, I'm just joking.
So when I was in high school, I remember we read this book. I'm pretty sure I was in high school. It wasn't middle school, but we read this book called The Lottery. I'm not sure you ever heard of this book. I don't know how familiar or popular it was, but so basically, I think it was like an old timey village. The people in this village would all once a year, I think it was, would kind of, I don't know, draw straws. I can't remember the whole details, but everybody would be getting excited because there's the lottery's coming up, and it didn't say till at the end it kind of grew up to the climax, but at the end the winner of the lottery got stoned. And I think that in this one,
and this was something you wanted to read in high school, or something you just
we had to read this.
Oh, it was required reading.
Yeah. This still doesn't require banning this book. Okay. So,
comment on the times we're in.
Yeah. But and it was it was a good read, but I can't remember if I don't think anyone else in the book got stoned. I can't remember. I think that the book led you up to thinking that it was something else. And then as you got towards the end, you realized that that was the prize, was getting stoned.
Why?
I don't remember. I think maybe it was a population control.
Like they had tricked everyone into this? Like
everyone knew because everyone in the town participated. So everybody knew what what it was. The reader didn't know what was happening, but everyone in the town knew the result of winning the lottery.
And which stoning are you talking about? Are you talking about where the public just throws stones?
Yes.
Okay, because there's another one.
Oh.
Where they basically stake you down, and then they just keep putting stones on you until it's so heavy it crushes you.
Oh, yikes. Okay.
Oh.
Well, I don't know. Maybe this one's worse because, like, you know, you're there kind of like, I don't know, against a wall or somewhere in the
They
center
both
of town.
sound pretty bad.
Yeah. And, and they just, you know, pick stones and you just get stoned and hit to death and you're bleeding and broken bones and, man, I don't know. And the thing about this is that, like, everyone in the town participated in this. Like, this was a yearly
What was the
thing.
point? Oh, they did it once a year?
Yeah, I think it was once a year. You know, but I don't know though. Like I said, I can't remember all the details about the book, but maybe it was like a population control type of thing. But, you know, even though one person a year, whatever. But yeah. So thinking about that, like, and I wonder if, you know, there was ever any other types, like if there was a stoning and maybe you just got like dropped a giant boulder on somebody. I mean, that's cruel and unusual.
Yeah. Yeah. There was also what did they call it? The rack, where they'd stretch you out.
Oh, yeah, that's, yeah.
And then probably the most famous one is crucifixion.
Yeah.
This is how Jesus died.
Yeah, I was actually going to get to that one because what's interesting about that is that they would make people, so basically you would be injured or like somehow maybe like stabbed or whipped or something like that, like before the crucifixion. So you would already be hurt and bleeding and almost close to death. And then the person would have to carry like the crossbeam through the town.
Because the cross you're being nailed to.
Yeah. So you'd have to like walk through town and, you know, you'd be shamed as like, you know, this person committed this crime and walk through town and everything. And then, you know, they would like hoist you up and then you're there for, you know, whatever time you have left, maybe 3 hours.
I think some people lasted for quite some time.
Oh yeah, maybe 3 days.
It had to be terrible. Yeah.
So yeah, pretty gruesome too. Yeah, and I never read like the whole story of like Jesus's crucifixion, so I don't know if Jesus went through the same thing, you know, like having to walk through.
Yes, and it's like you're saying, there were other pieces of it, like he had to wear a like a crown of thorns, and he was stabbed. Then of course he was nailed to the cross. He was left up there, and I think people threw stuff at him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah. So no more of that.
No.
So okay. There was another one. So actually I have a funny one. Well, not funny, but so there was another method called the brazen bull, and in this method, this was very intricate.
Okay.
So the criminal would be placed inside this like hollow bronze bull. So I mean, if you can think about like what it takes to kind of build this thing. I mean, maybe it could be used more than once, and like how big it has to be to put somebody in it.
Yeah.
You know, and this was ancient times too. So, but like somebody.
Wait, in which civilization used this?
You know what? I didn't look that up. Sorry. Well, I have to check. I'll put that in the notes. But they would, put somebody in there, and then they would set it on fire.
I'm looking it up here, and the device was designed by the ancient Greece.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so they would set it on fire, and then what seems to be the most humiliating was that there was a system of pipes in this that would make the person's screams turn into moos. So as the fire is getting hotter and the person is getting like cooked into this in this thing, they're screaming, and then people are probably laughing because the screams sound like the thing is mooing.
Ugh.
You know, which I don't know. Maybe some people like hear the moos and they're like, "Oh, this is terrible," but like other people probably just laughing, thinking this is, I don't know, because they're like, he's mooing so much, and man,
That's messed up.
it is.
You know, if you started out talking about bringing back the firing squad,
Yeah.
and then we started talking about why that would be a thing, and then we moved into this. I gotta say, if society is gonna do anything like that, I'd want it to be quicker and more reliable. Let's call it. Like, how about the guillotine?
Okay. Yeah.
It was quick. It was fast.
Yeah.
Now the whole question is how long does your head survive? But
Yeah.
it at least you knew what it was going to do. I mean, it was a very heavy blade, and it was
Yeah.
fell quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't even know what else to say about it because I think you just said that. The one thing I was going to add, though, was that there was a show I was watching recently called Carnival Row. And
Oh yeah,
yeah, and they had
a very steampunk version of it. I felt like
yeah, because in this one they had where you can do like more than one person's head. Like they had like 4 people lined up. It was this giant blade.
And wasn't it? It was more of a chopping. It came from the side or something, didn't it?
Yep. Oh yeah. So yeah, your regular guillotine or whatever would come straight down. Yeah, this one like swung from the side, so it was just like.
Yeah. Nice. Sound effects there.
Yeah. 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 Still, once again, like I don't know how somebody came up with this idea, to like chop somebody's head off. That's.
I think back then, at least I'm hoping it was just back then that people were thinking we need to come up with not only a punishment, but a punishment that was so horrible that it was a deterrent.
Yeah. Now, but this one though, like you mentioned before, this one's painless. It's pretty quick.
The question
is almost humane.
What is going on in your brain?
Well,
after it's been disconnected from your body.
Yeah, but at some point, I don't know. It's gonna sound terrible to say this, but at some point you can't think about that. That can't be your, that can't be the focus. I mean,
yeah, but do you still feel your body?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, that's I don't know if that's a myth because I've heard that before. That like like if your head is severed like so quickly. Like, that you're still, still alive for 5 seconds.
You're conscious seconds. Or
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. What about the future? Like, what about Demolition Man? Did you see Demolition Man?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay. So, what was it? Sylvester Stallone. Mm-hmm. He was frozen.
Yep.
Which I don't understand that part unless it takes that long to upload the memories into his head. Mm-hmm. 'Cause I kind of feel like a free ride to the future. What if the future is awesome?
Yeah.
That seems more like a reward and not a punishment. But then they'd basically alter your brain, right? They made them less violent, and then they gave them a skill so they could contribute.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They made him a seamstress.
Yeah. And I used to love watching this movie only because, well, it used to make me angry because I think Wesley Snipes was the other person, and they gave him like all types of combat skills.
Well, that was the plot of the movie, though, that someone wanted to undo their criminal system or whatever. and they basically made an assassin, which was Wesley Snipes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. But what about that for the death penalty? Or
No, I'm saying, what about that for capital punishment? We just
Oh, I
go
see.
in
Yeah, yeah,
and we
okay.
rearrange how your brain works,
Okay.
and then maybe you can be productive.
Oh yeah. Okay. So almost like a useful lobotomy. type
Yeah,
of thing?
like or like a reprogramming.
Yeah. You know what? I'm sure that probably is in the inhumane section, but
Although I'm not sure, then you got to also think of the victims and the
yeah, true.
victims' families and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Like, would they be okay with that?
Yeah, because what if like this person committed a crime and killed some people in the family, and then they reprogram them, and now this person's a successful gardener. That wouldn't be okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any of these answers.
Yeah.
I just I've seen some movies and I'm just relaying some things.
Yeah.
Or what about what was it? Total Recall, where they were implanting memories. That was more about a vacation, but it was just the implanting memories thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, but yeah. Okay. So, what if like on that same theme, if someone gets implanted some memories or something, and that's their punishment? Like, what if it's
Oh.
nothing good? What if it's you're kind of like strapped to a chair? I'm sure that it's not cost effective.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I watch a lot of sci-fi,
Yeah. Okay.
and years ago, I think it was on Stargate, SG-1, and one of the team members was convicted of murder, I believe, on this other planet, and they were a lot more advanced than us as far as technology. And their punishment was that once an hour, you had to relive the murder you committed from the eyes of the victim. And that would happen for the rest of your life.
Oh, okay.
So you're going about your day, and then all of a sudden, like the last 5 minutes of your hour, you're in your mind, you're believing that you're being brutally murdered by yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now that kind of feels like cruel and unusual, though. Although you just said the whole thing about boiling alive, so
Yeah. Yeah. Which one's
I
better?
still feel like that the boiling is still worse in my mind.
Yeah. 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 And like I said, I mean, not very cost effective, but I don't know. I mean, if you're okay, what if you take it a different way? What if you are just put into like a cell or whatever, and then you're given a headset or something, and you're just given some memories that are like torturous or some type of
Like you have
visual-
the memories of being tortured,
yeah
but they didn't really torture you.
yeah you're just in this alternative reality.
I think the deal is that doesn't. I think torture doesn't really work.
Yeah. But you don't know that you're, it's set up in such a way so you don't really know that this is not real. But yeah.
Well, I remember watching a documentary, and they were talking about the prison system, and they were talking about where the word penitentiary comes from. And I could be getting this wrong, but from what I remember was that the original prisons, they were set up in a way, and I don't remember which one was built like this, but it had one window, it was very tiny, and it was above you. And then you would be in a room alone. And they believed that you then, being alone in the room, you would reflect on what you had done wrong, and then you'd look up through the window towards the sky to repent and pray on what you had done. But in reality, what this did was you're basically having everyone in solitary confinement, and they're not even able to look directly out. All they can see is the clouds or the stars or whatever, and it drove everyone nuts. And it turned out that that was a extremely bad idea, because you were putting people in here and you were making them worse. So, I mean, so if they ever came out, they were way worse than when they went in, because they were just driven insane.
Yeah. Wow. Interesting. Okay. So what about other like futuristic methods of capital punishment or some? Like, have you seen Resident Evil?
I have seen Resident Evil, yes.
Yeah. So there was a scene in, like, I think it was the first one, where they were like in a hallway, if I remember correctly, and it's like a laser maze that they got to go through.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So what about something like that? If we had the capability to use that, and it wasn't, cost wasn't an issue, you think that could ever be adopted as a
Just a Swiss cheese people,
Yeah.
or not, cube them up.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it did seem fast. But I was thinking more along the lines of, is there a way that we can punish people in a productive way? And then and then you were like, what if we turn them into tiny little cubes?
Yeah. Well, listen. Okay, so does this sound like cruel and inhumane if you had to go through a laser maze like that just to be faced with like something that you would not survive at the end? So say the first one is like a laser coming at you that's like ankle height, you got to jump over it, and then the next one is like head height, you just got to duck down.
Are you designing an obstacle course in your head and saying to the prisoners, what if they get through it, then they can go?
Yeah. But it's gonna be one where it's like, you won't succeed at the end, because the last phase is like I know that's
it's like you just made them go through a bunch of horrible stuff, and at the end it's just a nuclear weapon, and you're like, oh. Well, what about that? What about if in the future we have a way to just, like in sci-fi, where you get shot with a ray gun and then you just are vaporized and you just disappear, and it's instant?
Okay.
Wouldn't that be the ultimate way? Well, hopefully by then.
Yeah, we won't have any crime.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about implanting memories and things like that. Wouldn't it just be a great tool to go, did this person commit it? And then just sift through their memories and go, oh, we know that they did because they have a memory of committing the crime. Yeah. Or we know that they didn't because they have no memory of it.
So now our lives are actually turned into like episodes of Black Mirror.
Black Mirror, yes.
Yeah. So that would be interesting too. So we could, because you basically couldn't get away from it. The thing is if somebody figured out how to like hack their implant or remove that. But then you run into a whole host of other issues, where like, is it right? Is it like infringing on your freedoms to have this implant?
Hey, I looked up that penitentiary, and I believe the thing I was thinking of was Eastern State Penitentiary, and I believe it's in Pennsylvania, and it was in 1829. And now it's kind of held up as like a what not to do. I mean, you don't want to just drive everyone insane, because if you ever intend to deal with them again, that's not productive.
Yeah.
But what about we were talking about changing people's memories. There is and I think this was another Stargate episode. That was a really good show back in the day. Where a futuristic society had implants on the side of their head, and they could interface with their collective knowledge at any point. So they would have every skill imaginable. And the entire system was maintained by a very powerful AI. And they actually went to the system after they had basically destroyed most of their planet through, basically polluting the where they live. And they had created this system where they were all inside of a force field, and this AI helped manage the town, manage the force field, and also give everyone access to the all of this information. And they could, it was almost like the Matrix, where he's like, when he goes, "I know kung fu." It was like that. If you wanted to know how to do something, you would just think about it, and then the memories that you would need to do whatever you want to do would be put in your head. Now, here's the twist, and it's kind of Black Mirror-ish. What happened is the AI was realizing that the power supply was failing, and that it couldn't maintain the force field. So it decided to make the force field slightly smaller. Well, a slightly smaller force field doesn't fit the same amount of people. So it would just randomly have people walk out of the force field, and they would die because the planet was toxic. And then they would rewrite everyone's memories so nobody remembered that person anymore. It was real Black Mirror-ish.
Wow.
Because you start screwing with people's memories, then who knows what's real? I mean, I guess if we had a punishment system like that, could we end up in a scenario where people who aren't being punished start questioning their own reality?
Oh yeah.
How would you know if you weren't a terrible person or had done something?
Oh yeah. Very interesting. Yeah. Yeah, that's a that definitely sounds like that would be like an episode of Black Mirror. And I don't know if we could ever get to that point, just for that particular reason that.
Yeah, that's starting to sound really terrible. They're really terrifying to me. The more and more I'm thinking about it, the more and more twisted and screwed up it becomes.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe like futuristic methods of like the death penalty aren't gonna look as good, because we're going to get to a point where we have so much technology that, like, these methods like firing squad are going to seem. Unless it's like, instead of like humans doing it, it's like a robot or some type of automatic.
What do you mean, killing people? Are you still talking about
Well, I'm talking about like
the death penalty?
yeah,
Okay.
Because right now, I think the way that the firing squad will work is that there's 4 or 5 people, and only one person has like a real bullet, but they all like shoot the same target, so you don't really know who's got the blank. Or maybe 4 people have a real bullet, one person has a blank, or something like that. It's probably one person has a bullet, 4 blanks.
Yeah.
But maybe we'll get to a point where we don't need to do that. Maybe we don't have like actual people doing that. It'll just be your you've been convicted of this, and this is the sentence, and then the firing squad is like a AI.
Well, as long as we're going down the whole sci-fi movie route, what about Minority Report? That takes it to the next level.
Okay, yeah.
Because they're figuring out people who are just about to commit crimes, and then they go and they grab them and stop the crime.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Which is both kind of cool for the standpoint that they've actually taken a step even further back from punishment, is they've stopped the crime somehow. But then the problem with that is that you're capturing people that haven't done anything wrong yet.
Yeah.
But you can prove that they were about to.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Right. Yeah. But then that brings up another morality question about free will.
Yeah. Because if they can see,
Yeah. Because what if if I have free will, I could have decided to not do that crime. Maybe I was just gonna do it, because I was so angry. And then, 5 minutes before, I was like, you know what? I don't want to go down this route. If I get caught, that's the ruin my life. I'm just gonna go to the beach.
Yeah, or and I feel like you should be saying this because of all the other crime things you've said today. Or what happens if you're bad at it?
Mm-hmm.
What happens if you're about to do a horrible thing and you're so bad at it that if you were allowed to continue to do it, you wouldn't be successful anyways because you were terrible.
What about? So if you
Well, I guess it would be attempted murder and not murder.
yeah. So, so yeah, I don't know. Maybe
Maybe that wasn't a good idea. I don't know why I went down that path. I was like, let's flush this idea out. Ugh.
So, but yeah, so having what did they call in the Minority Report? The
Precogs.
That's right, precogs.
Yep.
And so yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
And they went out of the way to say that the woman was in control.
yeah.
It was a sister and two brothers,
that's
right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and yeah, I don't think that'll be helpful. And then if you're more looking to like futuristic crime prevention, I mean we're getting so far with like AI. Maybe we'll just become. Well, I guess you already said that. Maybe we'll have like
predictive,
yeah. Maybe we'll have something like a brain scan.
or just have AI run every scenario possible, and then figure out all their probabilities, and then have it alter the environment to steer us away from those probabilities. Like, wasn't it in iRobot where the robot said that it reduced vehicle accidents by so many %? And I mean, I don't know exactly how it did it, but if I had to guess, it would be changing traffic patterns and changing lights and changing rerouting. If people are in self-driving cars, make one car go another direction or whatever.
Right.
So if you could do that on a societal scale where you're like, oh, if I make this one little thing over here that's attractive, people will go that way. And as long as they stay away from this area, which I think is a bad area or has the potential of becoming a bad situation. But then the question would be is how manipulated are we being by machines? And
true.
Will human beings be okay with being manipulated like that?
Yeah. Yeah. I think the answer would be no.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah. So yeah, interesting. It doesn't. I don't know if we would be able to get to a point where we have no crime.
Yeah, I'm not sure we'll get there.
Yeah.
It'd be nice.
Yeah. It just feels like even as fast as like technology evolves, crime always pays.
Nice. Yeah. Or there are just people that have been pushed to their limits and they feel like, what do I have to lose?
Yeah.
Is a problem.
Yeah. So possibly maybe we should think about going back to some of these like old school methods.
No, I don't think so. No. I think we're moving. Well, the firing squad feels like a step back, but
Yeah.
I felt like we were moving in the right direction, but maybe we're not. I don't know. It's definitely better than it used to be, is where I'm going.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is a little bit more humane than, the waist chop.
Yes, definitely over the waist chop.
Yeah. Because you commit a crime and you get, proven that you did this, so they don't waste any time and then just. So, okay. Well, listen. Very interesting conversation. I hope that I never have to hear about you in the news, and then one of these methods is your fate.
Yeah.
You don't want to be drawn and quartered.
Yeah, this was a very morbid conversation that we just had.
But very enlightening because we got this, talk about these ancient methods, and I don't know necessarily it's ancient methods, just old,
Yeah.
methods. And
we have no answers for the future is what I feel like.
yeah.
We've got some ideas, but they all come with problems.
Yeah. So just a morbid conversation all around.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was screwed up.
Yeah. So let me know what you think in the comments. If you've got any, if you've heard of any other of these ancient methods of torture or death. I know that sounds very down and morbid, but
Yeah, and if Salim is ever convicted of anything, and they play this at his trial, I just want to point out that this topic was his idea. So
that doesn't prove anything.
I'm just trying to set the groundwork for.
Well,
I have no idea.
Yeah. Well, thanks for throwing me under the bus.
Yeah. No problem.
I don't want to go that way.
Okay, so we're all set.
Yeah, we're all set.
All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.